There is one last question. I guess we'll go ahead and topic. This is Texas, so he says, "What about guns?"
You also gotta appease the people who have guns because they have guns. Uh, you know, like there's a piece of it of like, yeah, they have. I don't have any guns. They do. Like they kind of like, there's a limit. So and I do believe in like, I would never want to take guns away from the people generally before taking away from like the police and the military, right? I do believe in I do understand the angle of fighting back against a tyrannical government. This is a difficult subject, obviously. So I'll start with this. I've kind of a short term and long term thing. So short term, there are over 40,000 gun deaths in the United States every year. More than half of those are suicides. The method matters. Suicide with a gun is far more deadly than suicide with other methods. It's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times more lethal than other methods of suicide. There are some very simple, quick, and easy things that we can do right now to dramatically reduce the number of gun deaths. Things like universal background checks, things like universal waiting periods. These are simple things that we can do right away. I do think that there should be a requirement on, like you have to go through a certain amount of like gun safety in order to get a gun. You have to get a driver license to drive a car. You should have to get a license to carry a gun, in my opinion. But that's also getting more comprehensive, and kind of now we're getting into what I think a more sustainable long-term solution might be. What I think is the more sustainable long-term solution that's compatible with the Second Amendment is empowering the gun community to regulate itself through the empowerment of local militias to write their own regulation and rules. There would still be government federal guidelines to fill in the gaps and ensure minimum standards are met and all this stuff. But one way that this could look is, let's say you want to get a firearm of a certain kind. Well, now you got to check in with your local militia, maybe county level, I think makes the most sense, but it doesn't have to be that. And say, okay, well, in order to get this type of gun that has a very high muzzle energy, you have to go through this amount of safety training, and you have to register in this certain way and do these certain things. Or maybe maybe all the ammo has to be kept at the firing range or something, whatever it may be. But guns are a community level issue. You fire a gun in California, it doesn't kill somebody in New York. And so by bringing it down to the community level, you give much more voice to gun owners and the people, including gun owners who are fighting for safety. And if there are a lot of gun deaths in a community, you can hold that militia accountable, and you can say, okay, clearly the regulations that you have in place aren't effective. They're not enough. The rules that you have in place are causing a lot of people to die. So you got to change your rules. And to enforce that, right, I think this is a job that can be done through the Department of Defense. So better funding and legislatively empowering the Department of Defense, which already exists. That's going to help with holding police departments accountable nationwide, but I think it could also help to hold local militias accountable nationwide as well. And so I think that this kind of decentralization is as a long-term solution could make a lot of sense in the United States, given the specific language of the Second Amendment.